All right, guys, we are live. This is the Sherdog recap show for UFC 263 that just ended, I don't know, about 10 minutes ago. We have the varsity team here back together. I am your host. My name is Keith Schillen. I'm a writer for Sherdog.com. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of Sherdog.com. He is the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I feel as though we've said the opposite of this the last few events where we're like, oh man, it's nice to be, done with the event at 10 p.m. or whatever it is. This was a long night of fights, but plenty to dig into, isn't there?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, it's 19 minutes to 2 o'clock right now on the East Coast. I know anybody in Europe, I know we shouldn't be complaining. It's like 7 a.m. I think it's, I don't know, freaking Wednesday in Australia. But anyways, shout out to anybody who's watching in the live chat. Hopefully we can get the chat going tonight. It might not be as many people as possible because I posted this as soon as I could without actually putting a title of UFC 263 recap because, hey, it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's get right into it. Main event, Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. Israel putting his middleweight title on the line. He went into the cage with the belt. He walked out of the cage with the belt. He is now 2-0 against Marvin Vettori. I would say this. Both guys have made huge improvements since their first fight. But one guy has made a much bigger improvement, and that was Israel Adesanya. The first fight was close. We both thought Adesanya clearly won. This one, there's absolutely no debate. He completely blanked him over 5 rounds. All 5 rounds on all 3 judges' scorecards. What's your initial thoughts of the fight?
This is going to sound weird to say, me talking about 2 of the best fighters in the world. But in some ways, I don't feel as though either guy really quite fought the best fight he possibly could have. I was scratching my head about Vettori's performance, period. Like, he clearly was just like, I'm just going to go in there as the best Marvin Vettori I can be without any regard to coming up with a specific game plan for Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, I think he had a game plan. I just think about 3 minutes into the fight, that got thrown out when he couldn't catch Adesanya. Adesanya was moving laterally, didn't become a stationary target. Was like if you go to the shooting range, it's a lot harder to hit a target that's moving than one that's standing right in front of you. And over 25 minutes, there wasn't one time, and Marvin Vettori is known for being a heavy-handed guy. There wasn't one time where he landed clean on Israel where I went, ooh, that's a good shot. Like, I don't remember him landing a good shot the entire fight.
No, I mean, he landed cleanly a few times, but most of their exchanges, it was Vettori throwing a flurry of punches. Maybe 1 out of 5 lands cleanly at all. And meanwhile, Adesanya's just sniping him, back.
Yeah, the one thing when I break down the skills of Adesanya, I always am so impressed with all the levels he has to his game. There's so many avenues of success. There's so many things he can do, and to me, this one, we saw more kicks from him than we've ever seen. He went down low. He went down high. He threw my question mark kick out there that I've been asking for him to land. So I saw that aspect of him, and that just to me just seems like such a more scary guy. Where now he obviously always had kick. He's a decorated kickboxer, but to basically win a 25-minute fight mostly off of just kicks alone is just so impressive to me.
It's impressive, and I think that's where I'm coming up with my initial take on it, because Vettori just made 0 adjustments.
Yeah.
To that. Like, he never switched stances, he never started checking them, just came forward super heavy on the right leg over and over and over again. It's a testament to his toughness that he made it to the end of the fight, but there was no suspense for me after maybe the end of the second round.
Yeah, he caught a kick very early, about 2 minutes in. He caught a calf kick, and then after that, he had no chance because Adesanya was disguising him a lot more after that. Adesanya said he did the complete opposite of what you're saying Vettori did. Vettori didn't make an adjustment, and suddenly Adesanya did, and he goes, okay, so I can't throw a naked one, or he's going to catch it, and then he just started hiding it. He pump faking with his hands, come down to the calf. I was surprised. One adjustment he also did was early he was kicking the upper thigh. He was really targeting the upper thigh. And then about third round, he went down much lower and started hitting the calf. And that's what really, at one point he dropped him with a calf kick.
Yep.
Just a good showing. One thing I was kept expecting to happen is Adesanya kept moving his back foot. He was standing in the orthodox stance, and he kept faking his back foot. I was waiting for him, and he kept, when I say he just kept fainting with it, I was waiting for him to throw a Anderson Silva straight up the middle, Vitor Belfort front kick to the face. Because if you keep faking it, I was waiting for it just to go up,
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because he was even doing that when Buffer was like reading stuff out, like even before the fight started, he was like facing one of the posts in his corner and kind of doing that. And then like he snapped out like a front kick at it. And so I started thinking the same thing as you. Never landed. One thing I will give Vettori is I figured that the knockout, or at least the beginning of the end, because I picked out Adesanya to knock Vettori out, was going to start with a head kick, like his question mark kick or just a straight up high kick.
I agree.
He tried a few times, and Vettori either slipped or blocked 5 or 6 high kicks.
Yeah.
To the point that the booth never even really talked about him, because just there was nothing there. So, I mean, good on Vettori, because if any of those had landed, I don't care what his head is made of, like that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, there was some grazing shots, but nothing ever caught him completely clean. A lot of them was blocked. And I mean, you got a guy like Mirko Korkop can kick right through a block and stuff, and obviously Adesanya can too. But yeah, I agree. That was actually something that he did well. There was a brief moment. I think it was the third round. It might have been the fourth. I apologize if guys, we just we didn't get to rewatch this again as this event ended 15 minutes ago. At one time, Marvin Vettori did have the back of Israel Adesanya on the ground. It was very briefly. He looked like he had a rear naked choke. The booth actually got excited for a second because it almost looked like it was under his chin. And then Adesanya was able to reverse it, actually got on top and landed some pretty nice shots of his own. The question coming into this fight after his performance against Jan Blachowicz was he taken down and held down because of the size, giving up 20, 30, 40 pounds to Jan Blachowicz, or was it simply he's just bad on the ground? I mean, he's a decorated kickboxer who's still kind of new to the sport. Now he's got a long list of wins, and that every fight that goes by that gets less and less. But there's some guys who never improve on the ground. Do you feel any better about Adesanya now, based that he was taken down early, was able to get up? He did have his back taken briefly, was able to reverse it. Do you feel better about him now?
Yes. I don't think his ground game is, I don't think it's particularly a problem. If it were easy for someone to do the Blachowicz thing to him, somebody at middleweight would have done so. I mean, Derek Brunson tried. When they fought, like, Brunson wanted to get him down. Brunson's a very good wrestler for the division. He's an incredibly strong guy. He couldn't. I mean, he got sniped. Vettori held him down for 1 round out of 3 in their first fight. He could barely hold him down at all this time. He took his back, like you said, and was at least working for a choke. And Adesanya just did the, not many people can do it. It shouldn't work, but just the spin around from back mount straight into guard, like Anthony Pettis used to do, like Crazy Horse Bennett used to do. Just the, I'm that athletic and I have that good of instincts that I can do a thing that they really don't want you to do in jiu-jitsu class,
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel a little bit better about his ground game, and I still have those. I think the Blachowicz holding him down. I think I said it before. I still feel this way. I think it was to do with the size advantage, but also it was late in that fight. It was having to deal with the size for 25 minutes. That adds up, and it was a major size. I mean, he weighed in at like 193 or something. And then Blachowicz weighed in at 205, and then, assuming he probably put on 10, 12, 15 more pounds. So, he could have been up to 220, there really might have been a 25, 30-pound weight difference. So I do feel about that. Then I'm thinking about the guys he's beaten, Derek Brunson, an NCAA wrestler. Yoel Romero, I don't know, he won the world championship. He beat Cael Sanderson twice. He was a silver medalist in the Olympics. Now, obviously, that wasn't a lot of wrestling. I don't think there was any wrestling in the match because, Yoel Romero forgot that he won the silver medal in the Olympics. So yeah, I mean, you know, anybody who's ever listened to our breakdown knows how much I think of Adesanya striking. I'm even more. I'm doubling down on it. The way Vettori just could not touch his chin tonight at all was tremendous to me. Um, let's move on. Let's get some fun stuff because I don't feel like the fight was that fun. You know, it was
No.
one guy was much better. He kind of played it safe, but he now has 3 title defenses. He's beaten Yoel Romero, Paulo Costa, and Marvin Vettori.
Yep.
Is he the second greatest middleweight ever? All right now. Yeah, you know, assuming we're both. I'm obviously I'm speaking for both of us. I'm assuming we both have Anderson Silva as the greatest middleweight ever.
Sure. Yeah, and Anderson Silva is the greatest middleweight of all time. I think you could make the case that Adesanya is second right now. He only has 3 title defenses, but they were all against like extremely deserving contenders.
Yep.
You know, I mean, he doesn't have 10 title defenses, obviously, but the 3 he's beaten are, I mean, they're arguably as good as any 3 in a row that Anderson Silva got because they were scraping the barrel for contenders for him pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, I was gonna ask you like, all right, let me ask you this. I agree with you. I mean, I don't know who else is in the discussion. Like, who was the number 2 guy? Was it Michael Bisping? Was it Rich Franklin? Was it Dan Henderson? I mean, I know a lot of people like to throw Dan Henderson's name up there, but
It was Chris Weidman.
Chris Weidman. Yeah, that's that. Yeah. No, I mean like just middleweight, not even champion, just middleweight.
Oh,
Yeah, I always kind of say, well, Dan hasn't half his career at light heavyweight. You know, it's kind of like how Randy Couture is always hard to rank him at the heavyweights and light heavyweight. And Daniel Cormier's always kind of struggle, same thing. Does he have to beat Anderson Silva's record to be the greatest middleweight ever?
no,
Like,
absolutely not.
Like, how many defenses? 1 more win, 2 more wins. When do we start asking the questions?
I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 more. Like it's time to start really stacking the apples and the oranges.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got the head-to-head win. I don't hold a lot of weight with that because, I mean, that wasn't a prime Anderson Silva.
No.
But
No.
you know, people say that with Max Holloway and Jose Aldo, and well, Conor beat both of them. So let's move on. Like Robert Whittaker, obviously, is the guy that they've been promoting. He called out Robert Whittaker. That's the matchup you're making?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have been fine if they'd waited and just made the Whittaker matchup immediately, but they decided to do this one. I wasn't mad at this either.
Yeah, I agree. I think going to New Zealand would be the right move, being that, you know, last time it was in Australia, this time making it in New Zealand. He is a champ. I think he has that. I don't know what's going on with COVID restrictions in Australia. I know it's been extremely tough for that. I don't know. I apologize for not keeping up on the New Zealand, Australia area COVID news. But if that can happen, let me ask you this question, though. Robert Whittaker is a guy that he's dealt with tons of injuries. He had bad luck. He's just one of these guys. It's hard to get him in the cage. If Whittaker can't take the fight, who's the next one you calling?
Probably the winner of Cannonier versus Gastelum or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Gastelum would be on a 1-fight winning streak.
Yeah, he would, but that's middleweight for you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Anderson Silva's problem when he was champ is that the division was so dead that, I mean, in the middle of his 10 defense title reign, he took 3 fights with light heavyweights just to pick up a check and do the UFC a solid and keep himself busy. Like he beat Bonner, Griffin, and James Irvin all while he had now.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We had a little. I'm gonna try to fix it as much as we can. We also somehow lost our border during that as I was trying to fix it. It is what it is, guys. I mean, we had this run with GSP. We've had this run with Demetrius Johnson. These when we start getting rematches and whatnot. I'm looking at it. It's like Derek Brunson's supposed to fight Darren Till in September. Do you pull Derek Brunson from that fight? Do you pull Uriah Hall from a Sean Strickland fight? Like, they really need to make a fight with Robert Whitaker actually happen and not fall through.
Yep. They really, really need this fight to happen.
Yeah. How about Vettori? What do you do with him now?
Vettori is in a spot where it's going to take. I don't know what he would need to do in order to get another fight with Adesanya. So you need to give him fights with deserving people who are also not in immediate line. Just so that he doesn't knock off people who could possibly fight Adesanya. I like him maybe versus the loser of Cannonier versus Gastelum.
Yeah. I went much lower because of the fact that you have a champion that is, taking down all contenders. I'm worried about contenders taking out contenders. So I went much lower. I went with Andre Muniz. I figure, he's coming off a huge win over Jacare. Maybe throw him in there, striker versus grappler kind of thing. Big step up. That's what I would do. Are you ready to move on?
Absolutely.
If we were, we had 3 fights that were scheduled for 5 rounds. If I asked you beforehand, which one is least likely to end in stoppage, which one would you have said?
That's a tough one. But it might well have been Figueiredo versus Moreno.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. I picked it to end in a stoppage, but I could have just seen another furious 5 rounds of action.
Yeah. I'm saying, like, the one that was most likely to go all 5 rounds, I think we both would say what would be. Sorry, guys, I'm literally trying to fix this border as we're talking. I'm distracted. I probably should just keep talking. I'm making it worse. I don't know what I'm doing. I apologize. If I asked you, of the 2 fighters at flyweight, which guy would more likely get a stoppage, who would you say?
Oh, Figueiredo, easily.
Right.
He's a finisher.
Yep. If I said the stoppage came by way of submission, who would you have said would have got it?
Again, Figueiredo.
Yeah, that's
either way, but yeah.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Like, we're not dogging on Brendan Moreno. I'm just saying the unlikelihood of this happening was there you go. I got it back. Sorry, guys. I was a little distracted while I was doing that. I don't know what I did. We lost the stream for a second. Somehow the border went with it, and then I started clicking things and making it worse. That's what you get on a night like this. But it got connected back like Jamal Hill's arm. Brandon Moreno, this was an absolutely sensational performance. It was a pillar to post performance. He looked fast. He looked strong. He was accurate. We talked about his jab before, and I know I talked about his fight against Kai Kara France, that was a big factor. But to drop Figueiredo with a jab, we talked about how impressive his takedowns were, and I kind of, one of my predictions was like, I kind of think that was more of a surprise that Figueiredo wouldn't expect him to wrestle as much, and his takedowns looked even easier. He was taking down like even easier this time. Then he was adding the back takes with it. I was absolutely blown away by Brandon Moreno's performance tonight.
Agreed. And his jabs were one of the main stories of the fight, even before the knockdown. I couldn't believe how fast and accurate his jab looked. He looked like he was going at twice the speed of Figueiredo the whole time.
That's right.
You mentioned the back takes. Yeah, in the scrambles, like his back takes just lightning quick. He looked like he just had a completely different gear than Figueiredo the whole time. And Figueiredo just straight up did not look. He didn't look good. Like I think even just in a vacuum without the relative speed of Moreno next to him, he just didn't look like himself. And I'm not making any excuses for the end of the fight, because if he cannot make 125 pounds and perform at his best, then he's not the best flyweight in the world.
That's right.
That's what we found out tonight. Like there's no excuses. Like, okay, Moreno is a better flyweight than you are. Like, you need to do something different. But yeah, you and I both picked Figueiredo. I got concerned when Figueiredo had obvious problems making weight. I'm like, well, he's done this before and then come out and perform just fine.
That's right.
But tonight he did not come out and perform fine. He looked compromised. He was slow. He was just a step behind Moreno the whole way. I mean, this fight was over pretty quickly, but if either man was slowing down, it was Figueiredo. Like, he's normally just much, much stronger than anyone he gets his hands on. That was not the case tonight. Yeah, every place I thought he would have the advantage over Moreno, he did not.
Yeah, he looked so flat out there.
Mm-hmm.
He was flat. And his strategy was like so bad. Like, he was, he's getting out punched 5, 6, 7, and I'm not talking about like landed. I'm talking about like thrown. Moreno was throwing 8 punches for every time, Figueiredo would throw one, and then he would have this big looping shot that wasn't didn't seem like it was powerful. It seemed like it's telegraphed. Like, he looked terrible tonight. And Moreno, it could have been a weight cut issue. It could have been just sometimes you're flat. It could be just Moreno's a better fighter than him. And it's probably a little bit of all three. I'm going to say something. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Brandon Moreno winning the title is the best thing to happen to the UFC flyweight division ever.
I would say so. Yeah, it's what they've wanted for this division all along. Like, an electrifying, exciting fighter with charisma. Yeah. It's what they've wanted since the beginning. They finally got it.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who doesn't like Brandon Moreno. Like, he's a super nice guy, but it's very genuine. It's not a fake. Like, I'm trying to be. He just seems like he's just kind of like that guy who has the grasp of life. He just loves being alive kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And then you add in this story, the unlikelihood of this guy being the number 16 seed on the, he was on the flyweight season where they actually ranked him. Remember that? Where they he was a 16th season. He was the guy who was least likely to win. When they were cutting fighters, the flyweights, he was cut. When they brought him back, he got a draw. He got in this position, and now he's the flyweight champion of the world. It's absolutely sensational. He's the first one from Mexico. And the reason why I say I think it's the best thing, not only is he likable, not only is he great, not only is this guy is the Mexican star that they've been trying to have. Like, they've been trying to get a Mexican star forever. I mean, since Roger Horta and Cain Velasquez, and the amount of people they've been trying to put in this position is ongoing. And these guys weren't even true Mexican. Obviously they have descent from Mexico. I mean, like, person born and raised in Mexico, who trains in Mexico, has Mexican coaches, who's, Mexico is obviously a very long history in combat sports. Obviously in boxing, I mean, the most popular boxer in the world right now is Mexican, and there's been many famous fighters from Mexico. This might be the foothold in Mexico. I mean, you saw the crowd when he won. You saw the flags going. Like, this was a great moment for the UFC.
Great moment for the UFC, and I'm old enough in this sport as a fan and later a media member, and so are you, that I remember when there was this narrative that Mexico's never going to embrace MMA because they have this machismo thing, and they're never going to get into a martial art that involves, a lot of grappling and wrestling. not the case anymore. There are
Yeah.
great gyms in Mexico. It's not just that they're great fighters from Mexico, because they're great. There can be great fighters from any country in the world, but there are great gyms in Mexico. There are great local shows in Mexico that like now feed top level global promotions nationally. Campbell McLaren will be happy to tell you how well Combate does on Univision. So great night, obviously, for Mexican combat sports. Great night for the UFC flyweight division. And dude, it's my favorite MMA moment of the year so far. Just him with tears in his eyes,
That's right.
cussing up a storm in 2 languages. Like, luckily, it's the pay-per-view, so they're not having to bleep him out for cable, because he would switch over to Spanish and he's just going straight. Language is just going straight blue that way as well. Just tears in his eyes. His family in the cage. Figueiredo carrying him around. Like, I'm gonna get choked up now if I keep like revisiting it. Let's move on.
Yeah, it was a nice moment, and you talked about the the stereotype of Mexicans won't like the grappling aspect. That's how he won, which makes it even better.
Yep.
He
was better everywhere, but that's how he finished it.
Yeah, it brings some new blood into a division that even when Figueiredo won, it was still a little stale. I think the last real nice moment was when Cejudo beat Demetrius Johnson, and I don't know if that was. That wasn't. I don't know if it was a nice moment, because Cejudo has already accomplished. He was at that time he was the Olympic champion. He did so much in combat sports, but it was more of the big moment of wow, Demetrius Johnson finally lost. This was one of those moments where it just seemed like so many people. Like, we both picked Figueiredo, and it was still a nice moment to see just like an ultimate underdog, hold the title. Before I move on, shout out to my my buddy Justin Peck, who's been backing Brandon Moreno forever. He's like, Brandon Moreno was his favorite fighter, and this is like when Brandon Moreno was like ranked not even in the top 15 at flyweight, and he always loved Brandon Moreno. So shout out to Justin Peck. Before that, this is the fight that the most of the casual fans were most excited for. The guy who got the biggest pop of any fighter, even over Israel Adesanya, was Nate Diaz, as Nate Diaz returned his long-awaited return to the octagon against Leon Edwards. I will say this. I was extremely bored watching this fight until the last 2 minutes. I didn't like the clowning stuff that Diaz was doing, the like walking away. It reminded me a lot of his brother fighting Anderson Silva.
I'm so glad you said that, because the booth kept trying to say this is just classic Nate Diaz. That is not classic Nate Diaz. Classic Nate Diaz is flipping the bird to the audience while winning a fight. Like, clowning around because you're losing and you've got nothing else and you're embarrassed. That's not classic Diaz brothers.
Yeah. No, yeah. And Nate's game is to come forward, not just like walk away. So I didn't like that. I didn't like. I don't care if my picks win or lose. I always say that I like when I don't know who's going to win. I like when it's an evenly matched fight. I love when there's a fight to burn. Obviously I want a great knockout or a great submission, or I want a all-time war like we had with the Brad Riddell Drew Dober fight. I don't want a one-sided beat-in, but it's like Leon Edwards winning, but he's kind of playing it safe. He's not stepping on the gas. He's kind of like way ahead of him. He's too fast for him. He's too strong for him. He's easily taking him down. And I was legit bored. And I was like, this is a fight that most people in America are going to be talking about, the next day. And up to this point, I was so bored. I did not care. I remember I wrote down the notes. I am so bored. Then you give me 2 more rounds of this nonsense.
And
I'm glad they
ironically
gave me 2 more
enough,
rounds.
the last 90 seconds of the fight was the only interesting part.
Because
I mean, that's the only thing that took it off my beatdown of the year list.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have it in my beatdown. I had it I would have it in the one-sided. I just don't think Leon Edwards put it on him enough. Like he could have. Like he just didn't push the gas enough. But Nate Diaz almost pulled off the comeback of the year, as he had Leon Edwards hurt, and he had him hurt bad. And Nate Diaz is not known for his punching power.
Nope.
What would have happened? Now, obviously, we'll get to Leon Edwards and what we do with him next. But if Nate Diaz pulled this upset, what would we be talking about right now?
Title shot?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think we'd be talking about. Imagine him getting beat up for 24 minutes. He gets a knockout in the last minute, and we're talking about him getting a title shot.
Sherdog associate editor Jay Petrie, who also gave us the bonuses if you want them, but he also threw out a question.
Okay, let's do his question first, then we'll do the bonuses. Actually, let's do the bonuses right after we talk about Edwards versus Diaz. Let's finish that up.
Sounds good. Was this a paycheck fight for Diaz? Like, did he come into this expecting to win? Did he come into this because the UFC gave him a promise, like, hey, beat this guy and you will get a title shot? Or was this just him showing up for a paycheck and like shouting out his sponsors that nobody could understand at the end?
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't think the Diaz brothers ever see themselves out of a fight. Like when and obviously I'm grouping them together, but when Nick Diaz fought George St. Pierre, nobody gave Nick Diaz a shot. Like even the most Stockton fanboys, and obviously that fan base wasn't as big as it is now, but even the most hardened Stockton fanboys like knew George St. Pierre was going to murder him. But sure, they still thought they were going to win. I think Nick still thinks he won.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah. I understand why Jay's coming with this because everybody else on the outside saying like, you're not going to beat Leon Edwards. I mean, we were saying that on the bar. We were saying, Edwards was going to kill him. And he, for the most part, for 24 minutes, he did. I don't see the Diaz brothers as the paycheck kind of guy. Like, taking a fight that they don't think they can win. I don't see that. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree. If they were all about the paycheck, they wouldn't take 2 and 3 years off at a time. Like, Nick Diaz wouldn't have one fight in the last 6 years or whatever it is. Like,
that's true. That's a good point.
I mean, they're getting plenty of paychecks just, sponsoring CBD and weed shops at home and training people. I don't know. Like, just all I know is Diaz came in and, talk about not really having a game plan to match your opponent. It makes me wonder, like, did he even watch any film on Leon Edwards? Like, did he just kind of go in and work out like usual? 'Cause he was the same guy, he didn't check any kicks. He didn't really try hard to sweep and get off his back. Just, went for a leg lock.
So obviously we're talking about Diaz. Let's talk about Leon Edwards for a second. Biggest win of his career, name-wise, not talent-wise, but biggest, Did he do it like this is the moment, you got a name and that propels you to the next level of stardom. Did he even move up one notch to stardom? Like I was hoping for him to come out, absolutely clean the floor with him, have just a crazy performance and then move up 4 or 5 notches. Like Jorge Masvidal, who was already, building a star, but then when he fought Diaz, he brought himself even higher. I don't think he did even one notch up.
No, I agree. And it's not like he took it easy on Diaz. Like, he beat him up bad every round. I mean, including the 5th. Yeah, he got rocked at the end. Yeah. But even in the 5th round, he was marking him up. Just, he accepted a really slow pace. Like, when he just let Diaz, like, kind of walk away from him, half turn his back and kind of, like, turn his ass towards him and didn't advance and do anything. Like, I was like, why are you letting the 4-1 underdog dictate the pace of this fight? But I mean, I again, easy for me to say, but sure looks like a mistake.
Yeah,
to me.
I said it when this fight was rumored that it made no sense, that you're not going to make Leon Edwards a star. Why don't you use somebody else? Why don't you? I've been saying forever they're wasting the opportunity for the third Conor fight. I still thought the third Conor fight after Poirier was way to go. Before you make the Poirier fight, get Conor to get it. I think Conor would beat Nate at this point. Get Conor another win. Get a little more buzz with him. Finish up that chapter.
Conor's going to need a bounce back win in a few weeks here.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's talk about where they go. Leon Edwards is his next fight for the title?
I think it should be. If the Muhammad fight had played out like normal, it would have been title shot next for him. This fight, I mean, it looked bad at the end, but it was 24 minutes of a beating.
Yeah.
And he probably deserved it before either of those 2 fights. And the champ's been calling him out. Like, if the champ is asking for you and the promotion is still putting stuff in your way, that's kind of weird. Like, Usman has been saying for like a year now, he's done enough. Like, he should get a title shot.
For a couple of weeks ago, it sounded like it was a done deal with Colby Covington. Usman versus Covington done deal. But now, and I know Dana White has said, it's Covington. But you listen to the broadcast today, and I don't know what he's saying. I'm sure he's in the press conference. We're doing this live, guys. We're obviously not watching the press conference. So if you're watching this on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday and you go, oh, these guys are idiots.
No.
There was a big headline. You didn't see Colby Covington storm the press conference, and who knows? We're doing this live, and I know we had a little feed issue, so we'll have to try to figure out how to mix them together and whatnot. But it sounded like a couple weeks ago that Colby Covington was the matchup, but John Anik was talking about during the fight, like, is his next fight going to be Usman, or is he going to have to wait for Covington first? Like, who gets it? I don't hate the idea of Edwards skipping Covington, just because I still feel like Covington rematch, the way how the both the blow ups on ESPN and them arguing with each other, how competitive their first fight was. Sometimes you got to let those simmer. I'd rather have let it sit on the sidelines for a second. Let Leon Edwards come in. Like, I like that idea. I like Leon Edwards skipping Colby Covington. I don't think that's going to happen. But if you were running the UFC, so this is not a question of what's going to happen, but if you were in charge, what are you doing?
If I'm running the UFC, I do give it to Edwards. Even if I personally hate Edwards, I don't know that Dana White and Sean Shelby do, but even if I personally hate the guy, and even though I think he's never going to be marketable, it's like the noise is just going to get louder and louder. Just get him out of the way now. Usman wants to be a busy champ. Just let him get this guy out of the way. These two guys had a pretty competitive first fight. Yeah. Kind of like Adesanya and Vettori. The Usman rightfully won, but definitely got a round taken off him. Get this one out of the way. I understand, that the Covington fight is probably more marketable in the long term, but Usman needs to defend the belt, and you've got a guy who deserves a shot. Why waste it? Like, why keep making him fight random people until he just has such an off night that he loses to a guy he shouldn't do? He almost lost to a guy he shouldn't have tonight.
That's right.
And then what would you do?
And he's starting, you just got him the win over the biggest name. You got him on, you made this a 5-round fight. He proved he can go. He's already proved that being the main event. But, he pay-per-view, big moment, big name, crowd against him. I agree. I would do the Leon Edwards fight next. I don't think that's going to be the case. Let me ask you this question.
Just real quick, in the chat, Alex Johnson is saying that Dana confirmed that Covington is next for Usman 100%. I don't know if that's based on something he's saying now at the presser,
or if that was what he said before.
Because I'm sure that's one of the first questions he was asked.
Absolutely.
Is Edwards next for Usman? So maybe he confirmed there that Covington is 100%.
Before. He said it weeks ago that Covington was next, but then on the way on the broadcast today, then Usman doesn't seem like he's that interested. Usman, even though Usman's picking his shots, he picked Masvidal all over Covington and this and that. He still will fight anybody. It's Kamaru Usman. Might be the baddest dude on the planet right now. Did Leon Edwards do anything tonight to make you feel better with his chances against Usman, or did he do anything tonight to make you feel worse in his chances, or neither?
I feel the same about it. Nothing he did to Diaz or nothing Diaz did to him really changes my opinion about how a second Usman fight would go.
I will say this. I was picking, and we don't like to make predictions without doing film study for the recap show, but sometimes I'll throw out there my first impression. I'm a human being. Obviously, when you announce a fight without doing film study, I still kind of like, I think I'm probably going to take this guy. I would probably take Kamaru Usman. Mm-hmm. I feel better about my prediction now. When Nate Diaz, who's never been known for his punching power, has you, looking like a kindergartner ice skating for the first time. Yeah. And Kamaru Usman, who's hitting harder and harder, seems like every single fight. You think about his last 3 fights were all brutal knockouts of. Oh wait, was it Covington? I can't remember. It was
Covington, Burns, and Masvidal.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if Masvidal, the first fight with Masvidal, was before or after the Covington fight. But anyways, three fights in a row where, he's put guys out, knocking them out. I mean, his knockout of Jorge Masvidal. I see this guy Alex Johnson. Shout out to Alex Johnson. He's with me. I'm assuming he's from the UK. As he is. We'll talk about Paul Craig. He can gloat a little bit. If he's from,
he's been all over us. Like, yeah, Alex Johnson's been giving it to us since the show opened.
Hey, you know what? We do a prediction show. We throw our predictions out there. We open the door for that. We're gonna make some bad picks, and we open the door to get shamed. But while you're doing that, don't forget that I also picked Terrence McKinney to win by first round knockout when he was like a negative. In fairness, I didn't pick him to win in 7 seconds, but yeah. I would have thought my man Alex Johnson would be back in Leon Edwards. I mean, if he's from the UK and he's a UK guy, but
it's not that much of a homer. I guess.
Maybe. So you know what? Maybe me and him are more alike because I never picked the hometown guy. I never picked my New Englanders. Let me ask you this question, Nate Diaz, your UFC. What are you doing next with him?
Assuming he doesn't just go and collect the biggest paycheck of his life, like boxing a YouTuber. And I'm not kidding there.
You literally killed my joke. That was my joke. That was my joke I was going to make. Like,
there's only one thing to do.
Like, he's going to fight like Jake Paul or the other Paul.
Yeah.
Like honestly, makes sense. It really does make sense for him.
And our homie Bass is saying Tony Ferguson at 170. If they want to take just a serious fight, that's fine with me. Also, obviously, his star power is undiminished. You saw how the arena reacted to him tonight. It's incredible how durable that star power is. Apparently, it just doesn't matter if he loses or how he loses.
Yeah.
They're just going to boo the guy that beats him. But they've got to be running out of time to do the third Conor fight. If Poirier wastes Conor, in a month, make that fight. It's two guys coming off a loss, but it's still one of the biggest fights they can make.
That's exactly I have that like one of those charts. Like if this happens, go here. If not, go here. And it's if McGregor loses, you have to make McGregor versus Diaz. It would still be a pay-per-view main event. It would still be a huge pay-per-view. One of the biggest ones of the year, probably the biggest one of the year, even with them both coming off losses. If not, though, if Conor wins, I don't want to see Nate Diaz get beat up by, I don't want him to face a top star. I don't want him to face Dustin Poirier or Justin Gaethje or a rematch with Masvidal, someone like that's going to kill him. So to me, you kind of have two routes. You can either use him to build up a future star at welterweight or lightweight. I didn't have one in mind. Or you do legacy style fight, a Robbie Lawler or something like that.
There's only one call. It has to be Alex Moreno. Alex is just going to get all the UFC's biggest stars and legends in a row. He's going to get Pettis, Cerrone, and Nate Diaz just in a row.
Somehow Alex Moreno's if Alex Moreno gets himself in, then he's got naked pictures of Dana White or his manager is just the manager of the year. Something. You ready to before we move on? You want to give the awards?
Yep. Fight in the night. No surprise. Dober versus Riddell.
Oh, yep. I agree.
Performance of the night.
Brandon Moreno has to have one.
Brandon Moreno.
Don't tell me the other one. Paul Craig.
Poor
there
McKinney.
You go. For Alex
Poor
Johnson.
McKinney gets no loot for the 7-second knockout and blowing out his own knee.
Oh, yeah. Terrence McKinney on 4 days' notice.
I'm assuming they gave him a bag of money to ice down that knee with, on the sly backstage. But the official performances of the night are Brandon Moreno and Paul.
I know, but the guy got a 7-second knockout.
Yep,
on 4 days' notice. You know what though? It's forgotten because I didn't even think about it because I thought of Paul Craig first. So, when you rank it, guys, honestly, you might. It's one of those ones where you usually have we can take away the fight of the night and give it to two other guys, but then when you have a fight like Brad Riddell and Drew Dober, it's how do you just give 3 of them out? Just give the guy some, make it official.
Apparently, at the post-fight presser, according to unofficial producer Jay, Dana did say that McKinney was going to get some kind of, extra something for that effort. So
Yeah. So McKinney was my best pick of the night. My worst pick of the night was my Damian Maia pick of Bilal Muhammad, as Bilal Muhammad won a unanimous decision over Damian Maia. Let me ask you this question. Give me one. Where do you side more? That Maia's takedowns are just gone, like he's done, that he can't get those single leg takedown they used to always take everybody down with, or is it the opposite where just Bilal Muhammad has some incredible takedown defense?
clearly, the UFC booth, like Paul Felder, was playing into the Bilal Muhammad
That's his
has
teammate.
incredible, but
Yeah.
that's a teammate thing. I do think it has a little bit more to do with Damian Maia being just that faded. He top shelf athleticism was never his thing.
Nope.
But it was good enough to get inside on better, faster, stronger athletes. And he had the instincts and the reps to, be able to get better, more schooled wrestlers off balance. I mean, the guy that dumped Chael Sonnen on his ass at 185 pounds takes down Bilal Muhammad tonight.
Yeah, that's
he's just not the same guy.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, shout out to Bilal Muhammad, a great performance, best, probably the biggest win of his career. All that. I mean, I don't know if it was the most impressive performance, but name value wise, the biggest win of his career. I can't think that he has better takedown defense than Chael Sonnen or other top Gilbert Burns, who's a high level decorated grappler. My thing I just kept saying is like, dude, you're one of the greatest grapplers who's ever walked planet Earth. You've never pulled guard before, dude? I know you're a topside grappler, but like, you still gotta have a pretty damn good guard game, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, apparently we were criticizing on the wrong side because we were like, Paul Craig's going to pull guard and it's going to be a terrible mistake. But instead we should have been everybody should pull guard tonight.
That's I know. But
I'm like, rock like it's 2003. Everybody pull guard.
I can see he's 43 years old. He can't do an Imanari roll anymore, at least effectively, which, I mean, it's a hard move to get anyways. I could see, okay, I can't do Imanari roll. But you can't like just bum rush to the clinch and just jump guard.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I mean, he is what he is. He's been more or less the same fighter for almost 20 years now. And there was just that hump in the middle where his grappling was so terrifying that it made him a better striker.
Yeah.
For a while. He was K1 Maia for a few years there.
Yeah. Muhammad, I'm glad that he got a nice win like this. The fact that, he stepped up to fight Leon Edwards, he got poked in the eye. They moved on from that fight. Leon Edwards suddenly gets Nate Diaz, and he gets, they gave him Damian Maia, but, they didn't. He gets the main event, never gets a chance to finish that right. Maybe he'll get it one day, but it'll be 2 years from now or something. But it was nice. He's one of those guys. He's kind of, he'll get a UFC ranking after this, though he probably should have been ranked higher than Damian Maia, anyways. At this point, what do you do with him moving forward?
Neil Magny.
Yeah, I like that.
They're both guys that are in sort of the same place, just on the edge of the rankings. Each of them needs a win of kind of the same quality as the other guy. Throw them in, and then the winner of that really does have a case for like a top 5 type guy. Yeah,
I wrote down Robbie Lawler, but I like them. That works too. Neil Magny. I was thinking like, give him another name, Robbie Lawler. He'd probably win that fight. But yeah, Neil Magny, that's a good one. Probably like a co-main event on a fight night, or even like a pay-per-view opener or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be a good fight. Like, Bilal Muhammad he's not a blood and guts guy. He has that reputation, but he's not like a Vicente Luque or Nico Price. But his fights were never terrible either.
Yeah. So I'm reading the comments too. Alex Johnson's giving us shit. We might want to just skip over the next fight. Let's just jump because I see he goes, is it not better for a grappler/wrestler to pull guard against a stand-up guy to create positions to finish?
And
I wonder where you're going with that, Alex. In fairness, Paul, I may have either overrated Jamal Hill's ground game or underrated Paul Craig's. Probably more likely underrated Paul Craig's. I'm even after breaking Jamal Hill's arm, I'm still not gonna put him in Damian Maia's level of jiu-jitsu. Yeah, man, a good day for Scotland and Scotland MMA. Before we move on to Paul Craig, Damian Maia, this might be the last time we ever see him fight. I don't know. Maybe he'll fight one more. When you think about Damian Maia, what do you think about him? 10 years from now, when he's definitely done.
Oh, I'm between, gi, no gi, and MMA accomplishments on the top shelf of the greatest grapplers we've ever seen. Absolutely. Like, period.
I'll say he's a guy that, when was we last very competitive? 2019, maybe? That's when he was about the last time he was very competitive?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was a guy in 2019 that was one-dimensional and still one of the best guys in the world.
Yep, one of the last of the true specialists at the highest levels of the sport.
Yeah, and being in 2019, like that went away in 2002, 2003. Yep. To still be able to do that and actually fight for a title, 2 different weight classes. He's one of those guys you're kind of sad that he never got the chance to hold the title, even if he just hold it one time. It's kind of how I feel with Glover Teixeira. Like, he's right there. Just get it one time. But moving on. Our boy Alex Johnson wants us to talk about Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill. Paul Craig, first thing I wrote down is he pulled guard.
Yep.
And just started chaining submission attempts, one submission attempt after one submission attempt, until he absolutely dislocated Jamal Hill's arm. It was gross. It was going opposite directions. Paul Craig has won 4 fights in a row now in the division.
He's won 4 fights in a row. He was already above 500 in the UFC. I think he's now 7-4-1 in the UFC. Obvious, huge mea culpa for me. I mean, hey, I correctly picked a first round highlight reel finish. I will say that, but I got the wrong guy and the wrong method. He's asking, is it not better for a grappler to pull guard against a stand-up guy to create positions to finish? It worked tonight, but the reason you don't see it happen much anymore is because the average UFC level modern fighter is too well-rounded to fall for that. Like, if you pull guard, there's too much of a chance that you're going to spend the entire round on the bottom.
Yeah,
and
that happened to Paul Craig against Shogun in the draw they had.
Yeah,
he pulled guard in a fight that he probably, if he didn't pull guard, he's going to win. He was winning, and he gave Shogun the round by pulling guard. And I know someone will say, "Well, Shogun's a Brazilian, just a black belt." I know, I understand that, but this isn't the guy that was knee barring Kevin Randleman, and many, many moons ago. Luke Wilson asks, do you put any UFC fighter ahead of Maia from a pure submission grappler standpoint?
And I'm assuming I was actually in the middle of typing a request for clarification to him. So just, Luke, clarify for us.
Okay.
Do you mean like Maia as he is right now? Or do you mean like Maia's career all-time versus anyone else?
Yeah, I'm going to assume he means all-time career. I'm also going to assume when he's asking pure submission grappler standpoint, is he asking like pure grappler in MMA or pure grappler, like if you took guys who've been in the UFC going straight up grappling match against David Maia in a in a jiu-jitsu match? As far as that goes, I don't know enough about. I don't follow jiu-jitsu long enough to really give a educated opinion. Like, I know there's been guys, what's the Gracie guy that just beat? I just lost to Cub Swanson. What's his name?
Kron
Gracie. Like, I know he's extremely decorated. Is he better than Dave? I don't know. I don't follow jiu-jitsu enough. If he means as someone who's transitioned to MMA,
career all time. I mean, the list
pure
is
MMA. Yeah,
it's Maia, Jacare, Verdum.
That's it. That's your list.
I mean, that's kind of your list right there.
I mean, if we're talking straight MMA, like, I know Charles Oliveira is not as accomplished as those guys in the jiu-jitsu world, but if you're talking about strictly MMA, how he's trained, I mean, he's got the most submissions in UFC history. Like, he's getting in the club. He's getting in the club.
And he is submitting other great grapplers. Yeah. I mean, Charles Oliveira might be the greatest MMA grappler of all time at this point.
He's in there. He's in the club. Like, so if anybody's never seen how we do the show, like, when we chicken out of giving an answer, as we've both sidestepped, we gave a Dana at the podium answer when as he's asking, is he the best? And we kind of said, what we do is sometimes we can't say who's the best. We don't know. We'll do like if there was a club of best grapplers, like you can get in this exclusive club. Are we letting this person in? David Maia's getting in. Jacare's getting in. Verdum's getting in. Bass throws out Alexei Oleinik. Alexei Oleinik's getting in.
I mean, for me, it's Verdum.
Paul Craig is still not getting in. But
I mean, Verdum for me, I like that he has the triple crown. He has gi, no gi, and MMA world championships.
Yeah,
like I can't think of anyone else right now that does. So
yeah, Paul Craig is not getting in the club unless Alex is being the bouncer. Then he's letting him in. But yeah, he's got a couple more submissions. He might get himself in. But just to answer Luke's question, I'm going to say he is. I'm going to say Damian Maia is the number one out of all of them.
I'm not ready to argue that.
And the reason why, out of the ones we've said, he's had to rely on jiu-jitsu more. Like Jacare really doesn't have a pretty good stand-up game. Charles Oliveira has a very good stand-up game. Fabricio Verdum at one point actually had a decent stand-up game. Like, Fabricio Verdum won the title against Mark Hunt, the interim title. It was a knee, in the clinch against a kickboxer. Like, that's not Damian Maia. Like, Damian Maia has strictly won from jiu-jitsu.
I mean, Verdum guillotined Cain Velasquez, but he did it because he pieced him up on the feet, and Velasquez had to shoot a bad takedown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm gonna to answer Luke's. I'll go with David Maia. Let's move on. Let's continue with Paul Craig. We both kind of looked past him. He's got 4 fights in a row, wins in a row, in a shallow division. It's kind of time he has to face a rank. I mean, especially you open up a pay-per-view, which is always, it was a little bad blood. It was why he got on the pay-per-view, but he actually seized the moment. A big pay-per-view, breaks a dude's arm. That's going to bring interest. Like, what do you do next with him? Like, I'm giving him a ranked opponent next.
Ranked or at least like borderline ranked. What I had written down was the winner of Ovince St. Preux versus Maxime Grishin next. I think they fight in 2 weeks. Grishin might not be, but if OSP wins that, he's gonna be back in the rankings. I thought that was kind of an appropriate match for him because OSP prone to lapses at any given time. I mean, if there's a ranked guy that Craig can pull guard on and rip his arm off, it's probably OSP. But OSP's own weapons are so kind of like weirdly assorted and so deadly that if Craig just tries the get my butt kicked for 2.5 rounds and then pull out a Hail Mary thing on him, he's probably going to get knocked out. So I think it's an appropriate test for him. How
about Paul Craig pulling guard while OSP is trying to go for the Von Flue choke? Like, that would actually be fun to watch. But, and guys,
starting a guillotine versus Von Flue race, basically.
Yeah, and guys, I don't care how much you try changing that name. I will not change that name. Poor Jason Von Flue. The guy has nothing else to hang on to. Give him the move. I went with Dominic Reyes. Like, I know that's a little higher, but I mean, this guy's on a 3-fight losing streak. Kind of. They're at I think he's still higher ranked than Paul Craig, but it makes sense. Like, that's the fight I'd do.
Bass is asking, did he fight Johnny Walker yet? I don't think he actually has.
I know Johnny Walker I think he has a fight booked. I remember looking.
In this new era of the UFC, in the post Joe Silva era, certainly they would be happy to match up a guy on a 4-fight winning streak against a guy on a 3-fight losing streak. That feels to me like a high risk, low reward fight for Reyes, but Reyes may be out of options at this point.
Yeah,
at this point, he's just gonna have to take what the UFC offers him, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I understand the whole this guy has won some, this guy's lost some, but what's a bigger fight right now for Paul Craig? Is it OSP or is it Dominic Reyes?
Oh, it's Dominic Reyes. Yeah. I'm not saying that no,
I know
that Craig wouldn't prefer it. I'm just saying Reyes probably doesn't like that.
Oh yeah, but it's hard, dude. You're on a 3-fight losing streak. You don't have options. Like, Dominic Reyes' next fight is not going to be a main event.
Luke Wilson is saying Thiago Santos, but Thiago Santos has a date. He's fighting. Is it Johnny? He's fighting Johnny Walker. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
like
fighting each
Johnny
other.
Walker and Thiago Santos are fighting in September.
Yeah, they're fighting each other. So, guys, that's the main card. Let's move on to the prelims. And a fight that we both were saying was going to be fight tonight absolutely delivered. Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell. I have, like, it was an insane fight. I have about 900 notes on this fight. I just loved. I loved every set from the opening, like, second to the very end. This is one of those fights. Like, this will be a fight that'll be forgotten 2-3 years from now. Like, it'll never be on the all-time greatest top 100 fights. But if you want to show your friend a fight that'll convince them to watch MMA, like, this one is one of them.
Yep, this one's up there. This is one that for the rest of these guys' careers, anytime I'm doing film study for one of their future fights, I'll just watch this whole fight, instead of just kind of like blipping through at like 1.5 speed. I'll just like kind of sit back and relax, and I don't smoke, so I won't like smoke, but like I'll enjoy this fight every time I have to watch it for work forever.
Yeah. I don't feel like either guys, like, obviously it was fight of the night. They both got $50,000. Obviously that's good. Drew Dober got a loss. I don't feel like his stock dropped at all. If anything, I feel like both guys' stock rose.
You picked Riddell in this one, right?
Yeah, I did. Especially Brad Riddell. What I love about Drew Dober's power. I mean, you stand with Drew Dober, you're asking for trouble. Mm-hmm. But Brad Riddell survived an early scare, made an adjustment, and suddenly his right hand couldn't miss. What I loved about his right hand I don't know if you saw he was setting up. He was feinting, trying to get Dober who was southpaw, to throw his left. So he was feinting. He was forcing Dober to throw his left, knowing the left's coming. He would fade out or slide back. Some people call it slide out. Some people say fade. He'd fade out. He would miss it and then come over the top with his own right, and he just kept hitting over and over again. And then sometimes he would feint, try to get Dober to throw it, and he didn't throw it, but he still was timing it like it was like a feint, and I'm gonna step back and throw. And that's why sometimes you see him go, and then he throw it anyways, and it looked like, why did he just do that juke move? Because he was actually expecting the left, and Dober didn't throw it. It was just something. It was just so beautiful how he was doing it, and it was such a great adjustment. It's one of those ones like, man, like, I'd love to talk to him and just be like, dude, just talk to me about what you were seeing there, like why you made this adjustment and just started working for you. And then as Bass talked about, like, people kept talking about how his chin was. Luke talked about a chin like a fire hydrant being an elite soundbite. But in a close fight, I had it 1 round each. Third round was up in the air. I had Riddell a little bit ahead, but it was still like close. He got rocked. I mean, he didn't get dropped, but he got hurt in that one Riddell the fight.
Yeah, I picked this fight wrong. You picked Riddell. I picked Dober. I had the general dynamic of the fight right. I was like, Dober's got crazy power. He's a fast starter where Riddell is really not, but his gas tank isn't as good. And it's not like either of them has a bad gas tank, but Dober's is like average for lightweight, whereas Riddell's is above average. So, but my thought was, even if he doesn't get the finish, Dober will be able to sock away the first 2 rounds before Riddell takes over. Just that didn't happen. Like, Dober won about the first 3.5 minutes of the fight, and then from there it was mostly Riddell from there on out. He just took over quicker than I expected. It's not like Dober is bad or Dober is worse than I expected. No, just absolutely. Riddell's better, and made better adjustments throughout the fight, I thought. But yeah, just sensational fight. And you obviously lay down the X's and O's better than I do. But yeah, I'm embarrassed of my Craig versus Hill pick. I'm not embarrassed of this pick because I saw the fight correctly, and just the needle moved from one side to the other, before I expected it to.
And how many guys would have been knocked out by the shots that Dober was landing?
Most. Including some guys ranked above either of these guys.
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah. Like, there's very few lightweights that are taking the shots, especially the early shots. And I actually think that Dober might have punched himself out a little bit because, he was landing so clean and hard. What do we do with, I mean, Riddell's a guy that I think people are going to be, we were excited heading into this. I think he's more excited going forward. He's a guy that people are going to want. Like, his next fight is going to be, co-main event on a fight night or pay-per-view opener. Like, he's going to be in a pretty marquee matchup.
dude. I mean, they had to cancel a fight between him and Gregor Gillespie.
That's the guy
And
I had.
he went and beat a borderline he's beaten a borderline contender. Gillespie just went and beat Diego Ferreira, who was a flat out contender. Let's just make that one now. It's still a great fight.
Yep.
And Gillespie still he has a little bit of juice. He has just a certain charisma and star power to him that's always been a little out of proportion with his actual accomplishments in the sport. But yeah, he's just kind of an oddball, like the whole obsession with fishing. Well,
you always got to have some star quality to you when you have a NCAA Division I wrestling talent in your bag. Like, there's got to be the wrestling fans that are just always going to. I mean, that's people don't understand.
Tell that to Bubba Jenkins. His fight was so terrible the other night.
Yeah, that's true. All right, you got me on that one. But yeah, I'm with you. I think these guys deserve like I would like them to. Honestly, I wouldn't even hate it being a main event on a fight night, but I think they deserve like pay-per-view, first or second fight on the card. Like I really think they deserve a moment like that. Before that, Eric Anders and Darren Stewart rematch. Their first fight, while it ended in an illegal knee by Eric Anders, it was a terrible. The first fight was exciting, but and then this matchup was terrible. Until my man Ben tweeted saying, "Please stop the fight. Let's not get the last 2 minutes." And then it got actually exciting. Lola, stop it.
Yeah, it was a little weird that they remade this one. Just, the first fight was fine. It was exciting, and then it ended. It doesn't have really high stakes for the division or for either guy. And then they remade it at light heavyweight, so it doesn't even help advance somebody really in the contender-starved middleweight division, and then it just ended up being kind of a lousy fight. I was hoping that at 205, without having to cut weight, because these are two burly dudes, maybe they'd have a little more gas without being dehydrated, but it didn't seem that way. It was kind of slow paced. Stewart appeared to have put on 20 pounds of nothing but traps. I mean, he looked like a fucking cobra. I don't know what he's been doing, but yeah. Baz is trying to get me to say KB Bueller's. Oh shit! I just said his name.
There you go. And good night, Alex. He stayed up.
Good night, Alex.
He stayed up until we got through talking about Paul Craig. It is 8 a.m. in Scotland. I apologize, guys. I'm going live. If you can hear my dog in the background, I apologize. I think he got locked in the bedroom, and he's trying to tell me he's locked in the bedroom.
We can barely hear it.
Okay. The only thing that I liked about it, obviously the last 2 minutes where Anders won, but what I liked about it is I had a 1 round each. Darren Stewart got a takedown, and most times that would have been the end of it for Eric Anders. He got to his base, and then he did a reverse. They call it like a peek out in wrestling. He did a reverse peek out and ended up on top, and that was a nice moment. Like, he would have not done that before and lost. So glad he got a win. Not the best fight. Move on. Before that, Lauren Murphy versus Joanne Calderwood. Possible title eliminator. Lauren Murphy keeps her winning streak alive as she gets a decision over Joanne Calderwood. I will say this before I give you my scorecard. Pride rules, Lauren Murphy clearly wins. 10-9 must? Maybe not. I actually scored it for Calderwood. How did you score it?
I scored it for Murphy, and I got absolutely raked over the coals for giving Murphy the first round. Yeah. I
wouldn't hate if you gave her all 3 rounds. If you gave her first and third. If you gave it all 3 rounds, it was not a bad scorecard.
Yeah,
the only decisive round was round 2 for Lauren Murphy.
Yeah.
I gave Calderwood 2 squeaking rounds for her, so I had it 29-28 for Calderwood. I felt, even though, so we both picked Murphy, she ended up winning. I thought Calderwood won, but I'm okay. Like, it was not a robbery or anything like nonsense like that. What I love though was the breakdown of this fight. Like, I felt like we hit this breakdown pretty well because when they were doing what they should have in the event, like the advantage they have, they were winning it. For example, when they were in outside kicking range, Calderwood was winning. Mm-hmm. When Murphy was crashing the pocket, she was winning the boxing. When Murphy. Yeah, when Calderwood initiated a outside clinch, a plum clinch, she was winning it. When Murphy goes chest to chest, she was winning it. Like all the positions we talked about, that the person we thought had advantage was winning. I have one question before we move on to what we do with them. How bad is Calderwood's ground game?
Bad. I think of Joanne Calderwood is the female Dwayne Ludwig. She is an exceedingly technically sound Muay Thai fighter who can still be outstruck sometimes by people who just are better athletes than she is. And just the ground game has never clicked.
Yeah.
Some people don't get better through reps, it never sticks. She is appearing to be one of those, because I have been probably on the wagon for like 6 or 7 years now that oh man, Joanne Calderwood, she's going to turn a corner. If she can even get her ground game to average, she's, this was really before there was a Valentina Shevchenko to worry about in her weight class, but I was like, she's a possible future champ, and it's never even gotten decent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely troublesome when you have a girl like Lauren Murphy making, you make her look like this great wrestler. I didn't give her a 10-8 round, but there's a lot of people who did. There's people in the chat saying that, should have been a 10-8 round. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with anybody who gave Lauren Murphy a 10-8 round in the second round. Let me ask you these questions. I thought Lauren Murphy blew the opportunity. They got her on the mic. She said, I want to fight top people. She didn't say, I want to fight the champ. I don't know. She's definitely earned that opportunity, in my opinion. Let me ask you this. Should Lauren Murphy's, that's the key word, should Lauren Murphy's next fight be for the title?
Yes.
Okay. I agree.
If things had lined up properly, I would have been fine with her getting a title shot before beating Calderwood.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, she absolutely deserves it now. And she's 37.
Yeah.
If you keep making her fight other top 10 women, she's going to drop a fight eventually, and then you've just wasted a challenger. And Valentina Shevchenko is the most challenger-starved champ in the UFC, bar none. She's the one that they have nothing for. I'm not counting.
Amanda Nunes
Nunes has plenty, just only in one of her weight divisions. That's why.
I don't know if she had plenty, but okay. All right. I'll give you that. Second question. You said we both agree that her next fight should be for the title. Will her next fight be for the title?
I tend to believe it will be, actually. I think she's going to get a title shot. And only because I can't think of anybody else they'd stick in line in front of her.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both of that. Luke asked, is Murphy's gas tank a worry for you guys after that third round? Not so much, because she had such a dominant second round, and I've seen Lauren Murphy go deep into fights before where she hasn't gassed out. I don't even think she gassed out in the third round. I understand what you're saying. She might have slowed down a little bit, and Caldwell had a strong third round. And that's why I gave Calderwood the fight. But no, I'm not concerned. Are you concerned?
Murphy's gas tank is decent. It's not elite. It's not a real liability. The main thing for me is gas is not going to come into it if she fights Valentina Shevchenko.
Okay, which gets to my third question. I wanted to ask you. So we both said that she should get the title fight. We both think she actually will get the title fight. Here's my third question. Does she make it out of the first round against Valentina Shevchenko?
She makes it out of the first round against Valentina Shevchenko because Murphy is super tough. Val, she's a killer. I'm not saying she plays with her food, but she's got kind of the John Jones thing where she'll take the first round to kind of figure things out. If her opponent just wants to survive to hear the first round bell, Val will let them do so. If they want to run right at her, she will kill them. So I do think Murphy will make it to the second round.
Yeah. When I was watching it, and I remember I was writing down my little notes I want for the show. When I thought Calderwood might get the win, I said, all right, I'm going to ask this question, and will she make it out of the first round? And my answer was absolutely not. Shevchenko, say what she wants. She knows where she has advantage. She'll take Calderwood right down, and she's going to beat her up. And I was like, it's going to be under 2 minutes. She's gonna take it down and smoke her. Speaking of taking down and smoking you, Movisa Evloev versus Hakeem Dawodu. I apologize, I messed up on his name. Evloev, we know he was a great wrestler. We know he had great back takes. But the one thing we said about Dawodu, you can take him down, but it's extremely hard to hold him down. That was not the case for Evloev. This was an incredible performance by Evloev.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's from Ingushetia, which is former Soviet Republic, but he sure appeared like he was from Dagestan tonight, because it was he's not normally a great top control guy.
No, that's actually
he was tonight. I mean, he's a fantastic wrestler, fantastic grappler, but just lockdown top control is not normally his strength. And yeah, Dawodu, he's not a great wrestler, but he's a tough guy to keep down. Evloev had an incredible performance tonight. He's just so good. He's just so good everywhere, and he's so good at just melding the different aspects. Like his transitions from striking to grappling, from wrestling to taking the back and working his hooks in are just so seamless.
Yeah. I agree. Bass is saying that, he's a future champion. I'm not ready to crown him champion. If he holds the title one day, would it surprise me? Absolutely not. But it kind of led to my next question. He's not going to be. Yeah, he might be in the UFC rankings now, but he's not going to make. I was looking at the Sherdog rankings. I don't expect him to crack our rankings yet. But is he a top 15 guy? He might not. He might have the accomplishments. Beating Dawodu, it doesn't get you in the top 15. But I mean, absolutely, is he a top 15 best fighter in the division right now?
Yes, if not top 10. Just on strict talent, who would I pick in a fight tomorrow? He is a top 10 guy.
Yeah, I 100% agree. He looks like a future top 5 guy, or I mean, that division is so loaded. It's hard. If he fought Brian Ortega tomorrow, does he win? I don't know. Maybe. But the very fact that we're asked in the question tells you how I feel about him.
Yeah, I mean, our bubble, our 11 through 15 right now has Dan Ige and Giga Chikadze and Edson Barboza in it. It's incredibly hard to get ranked at featherweight. But it's such a deep division.
We haven't seen Chikadze's ground game. I'd feel pretty good taking Evloev over him right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just it's one of those performances. It was such a good performance, but it'll be overshadowed because of, Terrence McKinney didn't get a performance tonight. So, and, we had 14 fights and it went really late, and the actual fight happened probably about 7 hours ago, so we kind of forget. Before that, Penny Kianzad versus Alexis Davis. This was the fight that I think is the most, even more than the Lauren Murphy, Joanne Calderwood. This is the fight I've seen a lot of people debating who won. I think I'm in the minority. I went 29-28 Davis.
So did I.
You did. So we both, I think we may be in the minority. I didn't check MMA decisions. That said, I'm 100% okay with anybody who gave it to Kianzad. I was on the fence myself. Kianzad landed the better shots. But to me, Alexis Davis just does Alexis Davis things. You see in the first round, she loses. I remember when they were showing when they're doing between the rounds and they're showing the highlights, and it was just Kianzad hard body punch, Kianzad hard, left hook, Kianzad hard leg kick, and it was just and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be bad for Alexis Davis. And it's oh no, Alexis Davis will somehow get herself right back in this fight, and then she did.
Yeah, I think the swing round for most people was the final round.
Yeah.
I gave it to Davis. Some people gave it to Kianzad. I'm not mad either way. It was close, and if she wanted it, Davis could have put more of a stamp on it so that there was no question. Same for Kianzad.
Yeah, I feel the same way. She was busier. That's why I gave her the third round. I don't think that Kianzad was landing the heavy shots like she was in the first round. That's why I thought the volume gave it to her. But it is what it is. I mean, it was that close a fight. Don't leave it in the hands of the judges, as we like to say. I think I've heard that said once or twice. Before that, Terrence McKinney had somewhere to go. He had a hot day. Like, I don't know what it was, but he wanted to get his fight with Matt Frevola over as quick as possible. As he won, I think it was 7 seconds. That was the official time.
7 seconds.
7 second knockout in his UFC debut that he took on like 4 or 5 days' notice. Fought just 8 days ago on LFA. This guy,
he headlined an LFA event like 8 days ago.
8 days ago. Like, think about this. He's fighting the night that they're filming like embedded series for the guys on this card. You know, like they're following. The film crew is following around Nate Diaz and Israel Adesanya and all these guys filming. He doesn't even know he's on the card yet. He fought 2 fights in 8 days. People are calling for Nick Diaz to return. He's had 2 fights in 10 years. This guy's had 2 fights in 8 days.
8 days.
McKinney is known for his grappling. He's got like tons of submissions. He's got good wrestling. But suddenly he's knocking everybody out, and he's doing it in like 1 minute, 30 seconds, 7 seconds. Like, this guy's stock it's got to be soaring right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy of the kind that we had pop out last year, just out of nowhere. Your Shemaevs, who was the guy that knocked out my boy Moreno? Chaos Williams. Chaos Williams is actually a better example for this, because he's a guy that was kind of on your radar if you followed local prospects, but debuted on short notice, just thrashed a solid guy. Like, Frevola's not a top contender, but he's a solid guy and not an easy out, and just knocked him out in under a minute. So yeah, great things. It's good to have Terrence McKinney in the UFC. And you're right. Yeah, he was a grappler by preference. I mean, he's a sick jitsu guy. I assume he's been one of Michael Chies's training partners for years. But all of a sudden, he's like, well, it's a lot easier if I just knock him out in 45 seconds.
Yeah. I'm glad to see him in. I know he jumped off the cage. Like, he jumped up to celebrate on the cage. Like, he didn't even do the full leg over. He just did like, I'm gonna kind of like do like a dip, pushes himself up, like, yeah, and then he just kind of just pushed himself back. Didn't jump back, didn't do a backflip, didn't do anything. It wasn't an overly it was one of those, the guy supposedly, I don't know if he blew his knee out, but something happened to his knee. It could be an ACL, it could be a meniscus, it could be something, or it could be something that's a sprain. Who knows?
Yep.
I feel bad this happened, but I don't think there's gonna be a highlight for years to come, because it wasn't Michael Chandler doing a backflip off the cage. It was like, I was up, my feet was 2 feet higher than they normally are, and then I pushed myself off, and I don't know how shit happens. So
yeah, and I mean, what he really needs to do is just keep doing stupid stuff, because then, like, nobody even remembers that Johnny Walker injured his own shoulder doing the worm after one of his wins, because he just kept on doing dumb stuff and we forgot about it. That's what McKinney needs to do.
Yeah, like no one remembers Mike Perry in his UFC debut, or him in his corner were like throwing out racial slurs in his UFC debut, because of all the stupid things he's done.
Oh, it's like buried under a pile of like stupid decisions.
Yeah. Before that, Steven Peterson beat Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper's 21. I'm not giving up on the guy. He's 21. But I'll say this is the same thing I said a week ago. These Jordan Levitt style grapplers, where you're a good grappler, but you don't really have takedowns and your stand-up is terrible. And honestly, I think Chase Hooper looks like Canelo Alvarez compared to Jordan Levitt. This is not going to go well for them.
No, I agree. And he's even a one-dimensional grappler of the kind that there's only a very limited number of people he can beat, because he's submission over position. I mean, dude, if you're going for like leg locks against Steven Peterson, there just aren't many featherweights that you're going to be able to beat in the UFC.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to heel hook Steven Peterson, like, there's just not much they can do with you.
Yeah. The first round was close. I gave it to Peterson, but then the second and third round, he really started taking over by doing a very similar fight that we saw at Jordan Levitt and Claudio Pilos, where you stop putting the grappler on their back. In Peterson's case, he was more stopping takedowns and kind of scrambling and being on top. But let me ask you this question before we move on. Steven Peterson missed weight. Chase Hooper kind of slowing down the second, third round. Steven Peterson wasn't. Do you think if he cut the 2 extra pounds or whatever it was, that would have been different? Did he get an advantage?
I'm sure he got an advantage. I don't think it was enough to change the outcome of the fight. It would have been different if like Hooper won the third round and Peterson was just clearly just, you know what I mean? Like,
no, but I'm saying he didn't cut the extra weight, so he didn't guess.
Right, but like what I'm saying is he even won the third round. So even if he had cut the extra 2.5 pounds and his gas tank wasn't better than Hooper's, at worst I think he wins 2 rounds to 1 instead of.
No, I agree. I'm just asking the question because this is a recap show. We gotta get something on this fight. I don't want to glaze over it in 30 seconds. Here's another one that it was a really fun close. Well, I don't know if I'd say fun, but it was a close fight. Faraz Zayam versus Luigi Vendrame. I know I said both their names wrong because I don't do the pronunciations like you do. Zayam, I thought his takedown defense was pretty good early. Just winning a fight with leg feints and a jab. Vendrame could not get past that.
Nope.
Until suddenly he's like, oh, maybe if I throw more than one punch, I can. And he did in the third round and almost knocked him out. Like times.
It was a frustrating fight for me because, I mean, on the preview, I said I think Zayam has the higher ceiling, but I think Vendrame is the better fighter now. He's stronger. He's more physically mature. His game is closer to a finished product. I still feel that way, even though Vendrame lost. He just kind of pissed away the first 2 rounds of the fight.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but so I actually want to draw. I give him a 10-8 round. I thought
okay.
But I'm okay with. I mean, it was either Zayam winning 29-20 or a draw. When you put yourself in a situation like that, like don't be complaining. Like don't. My daughter's team got a tie today in softball, and it was so funny. I was saying we were down, and there was a big rally, and it's a tie because it's a tournament. It was only the seeding round where it's once they're in the bracket round, then they actually have to play the whole game out. But on a time, a tie is a tie. Like if you're after 4 innings, if you're both got 5 runs, it's a tie. Anyways, but it was so funny seeing the two teams. Our kids were like super excited that they came back and got a tie, and the other team was walking around like they lost. I don't know why I brought that up right now, but shout out to Cranston Little League team, the Bombers. And before that, the fight that everybody was most excited about, the people's main event, Carlos Felipe versus Jake Collier. Another really close fight. I scored it for Jake Collier. I went 29-28. I'm okay with anybody who scored it for Felipe. How did you score it?
I scored it for Felipe. I gave Collier the first round, gave Felipe the second and third. This is the flip side of the Vendrame versus Zayam fight for me because I thought, Collier is just a better fighter now, even if Felipe has a higher ceiling. I scored this one for Felipe, but again, I just thought Collier didn't look that good. He didn't look as good as I thought he would. His gas tank was a problem this time. I expected him to have the advantage in cardio. Like Felipe he's not usually able to maintain his pace for 3 rounds, whereas Collier, even though he looks, flabby now compared to his ripped 185-pound self, he's had acceptable cardio, but he didn't this time. So apparently he has enough cardio to beat John Vellante, but not actually enough to hang with a, roster quality UFC heavyweight.
Are you trying to say that John Vellante doesn't have good cardio? Are you seeing the guy that got choked out while he was on top in the fat guy choke? It does not have good cardio.
He got hugged to death. He got hugged to death from the bottom by Maurice Green. I mean, it's not even Olenek where he has just like this lethal Ezekiel choke. No, he got hugged to death.
He got hugged by a guy who's known for having terrible ground game. That's like why he's out of the UFC. Yeah, but to me, I scored the first round and third round for Collier. To me, Collier was being busier in the third. Like it didn't look as pretty because the way he was like kind of lumbering around. He'd throw a punch, he'd look up the clock, he'd take a big breath. But to me, Felipe was following him, but not throwing back. I'm like, yeah, like you look fresher. You look like you hit harder right now, but you're not throwing.
Yeah, like Collier's combination that round was jab, look at the clock, spit out your mouth guard.
Yeah.
So
so you guys have it. We've covered all 14 fights. Again, we're on the streak where we do the preview show and then usually we'll lose 2 or 3 fights and we're like, man, why did we break down that fight? It didn't happen. Not lately. We've been getting all the fights. But let's get to the fun stuff. We got the Bulls, the Bears, the cut list, and our final grade. Let's do. You want to do the cut list first?
Yeah, let's do the cut list.
So, people, if you don't know what the cut list is, that's our way of saying who should still be in the UFC and not. Yeah, obviously, it's a negative thing, but we try to look at it as a positive thing because if someone loses a job, someone gains a job in the UFC. So, lightweight loses his job, a guy like Terrence McKinney comes in. I got two people that I think should no longer be in the UFC. Do you have any? And the way the cut list works too, they have to be on both our lists to be officially on the Schillen and Duffy cut list. Do you have any?
I have one, and I'll go first because
Okay.
I'm open to agreeing with you on yours.
All right.
I think the UFC should cut Chase Hooper, and I say that fully expecting that he will be back. I think the UFC should cut him right now. I expect that he'll like win like 6 fights and be back, 18 to 24 months from now.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, don't put him on this year's contender series, put him on next year's contender series, something like that. Yeah, I didn't have him on my list, but I'm okay with that. Like, he needs grooming. They got to have some kind of developmental deal signed where he can't sign with Bellator or some organization like that. You don't lose him. I'm okay if they can structure some kind of thing like that. I'm okay. I had 2 other guys on the list though.
If one of them is Darren Stewart, I'm going to agree with you.
One of them is Darren Stewart. He's now lost 3 out of his last 4. Looks absolutely terrible in this fight. This is a guy who at one point was actually looking to turn the corner. I was actually saying like, wow, Darren Stewart looks good. Not recently. I think it's time for Darren Stewart to no longer be in the UFC. But my number one, we don't rank our cutlass guy, but the guy who needs to lose his job more than anybody, and I might be saying his name wrong, and I apologize. It's Al Guinea. Now, this guy
that's right.
This guy is obviously not a UFC employee, but I just wanted to throw him on the cut list anyways because he needs to lose his job by the commission. Al Guinea is the referee of the Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill fight, where Paul Craig broke this man's arm. The guy taps out. He clearly taps out. The referee, so he doesn't stop him when his arm broke, like we've seen other referees do. He taps out. They don't stop him there. He's obviously in pain where it's not comes to the point where he's not even tapping. He's like waving to the referee to stop it. He doesn't stop it there. Paul Craig looks up at him saying, I'm assuming he's mouthing it, I broke his arm. The guy doesn't stop it then. And then Paul Craig is like, are you really going to make me still beat up this human being? Who, mind you, he had beef with for months, and they've had the embedded show, and they almost had to get separated. And anyways, they had some legit beef. He still didn't want to hurt this guy. After, they say, oh, I'm going to knock your teeth out and all that nonsense. Looks up at the guy and he goes, really? I then hammer fist him, but not like 1 or 2 hammer fists. It was like 15, 20 unanswered hammer fists as Jamal Hill is waving his arm to stop it. His good arm is waving to stop it. His bent arm that's going the wrong direction is caught up flapping like this. His head is bouncing like a basketball. And after about 15 times of that, the referee finally jumps in. I tend to not criticize referees as bad as a lot of people do. I tend to not criticize judges as bad as a lot of people do. I really believe that there is you watching one from one angle. If a round's close and I give it to one person, they give it to one, that's okay. There can be fights that are really close, but it's still 30-27. Like, I tend to not criticize judges. I tend to say Referee blew that one. He's a little late on that one. He's a little early on that, but they're human beings. This one, there's no excuse. There was 4 or 5 incidents where you need to stop the fight. I'm screaming at my TV. His arm's broken. If I can see it from home, how can you not see it when you're the closest person there?
I don't know. All I know is like he looked like veteran character actor Abe Vigoda. I don't know if everybody listening is too young to know who that is, but
I have no idea.
Yeah, that was unbelievably bad. On Twitter, Sean Al-Shadi, the new deputy editor at MMA Fighting, congratulations, Sean, said this guy is local to me, and as nicely as I can put this, he is not good and should never referee a high-level martial arts event. Like, this is a known thing about him.
when I asked you where he's from, I was talking about the actor. What was the?
He was in Godfather, and then he was Tessio. He was one of like the old
guy, the old man.
Yeah, the old guy.
Okay, yeah,
on the one Godfather, and then he was on Barney Miller forever.
The one who traded on him. I didn't know the actor's name, but I know the character.
Yeah. Okay. So he was Tessio from the Godfather.
Spoiler alert! If you've never seen the Godfather.
Yeah. Luke says, can we cut the guy that showed the broken arm a million times? Yes, the unnamed UFC production person who made us watch the broken arm a million times. Goodness, yes. And I can only imagine it's worse in the arena because when 262 was down here in Houston, man, what was the gnarly injury we had from that one that I had to like literally just look at the floor.
Was that Jacare?
Yeah, thank you.
Jacare,
it was the Jacare break where I just literally had to like look at the floor for a while because I was tired of just getting it hammered into my eyeballs for like 5 minutes straight. So yeah, Luke, you got that one, dude. Cut whoever Mr. like Just Bleed is, just Snap is that's on the UFC production crew.
Yeah, you know what though? In fairness, like 95% of MMA fans, we see it once or twice, and we're like, we go, we don't need to see anything else. But there's still like that crowd of like jock guys are like, wait, here it comes. Oh, that guy's a pussy. I would have fought one-handed. as they're, drinking another beer. Yeah. Let's do the Bulls and the Bears. You want to do the Bulls or the Bears first?
Oh, let's do the Bulls. Let's get some good news in here.
Let's do the good stuff. So the way the Bulls and the Bears work, the Bulls and the Bears is a stock market reference where if a stock is going up or the market is going up, they call it a bull market, a bull stock. So that's a good thing. If it's going down, it's called a bear market or a bear stock. That's a bad thing. We're saying who's basically had the best night. We do it hockey style, 3, 2, 1 of the three stars of the night. I'll go first. You don't mind if I go first?
Not at all. Go ahead.
All right. My number 3 is the continued growth of global MMA around the world. And I'll tell you why. I was looking at the card. We had fighters from America, Nigeria, New Zealand, Italy, Brazil, Mexico, England, Scotland, Russia, Canada, Iran, Denmark, and France.
Whew.
All on this card. And this was not an international card where that happens a lot. This was a straight in the United States, good old USA in Arizona. It just continues to show that this sport is going bigger, better things, going in places that it's not really known for. Denmark, Italy. We now have a Mexican champion. It's just a continued growth. I mean, we think about like a sport like soccer, how big it is, how the Euro Cup is going on right now, and all of Europe shut down. I don't expect all of the world to shut down MMA, but we have people in the chat saying, "Hey, I'm over in Scotland," or "Hey, I'm over here in Australia," or whatever. Just continue. I love that. It's cool. My number 2 star is a team, City Kickboxing. Went 2-0. They went in with a champion. That champion still has the belt. And Brad Riddell won $50,000 for Fight of the Night. Just another continued dominance of City Kickboxing, which also goes back to my first one of the global sport, as a New Zealand team is really rocking it. But my number 1, who I'm assuming is going to be your number 1, whose stock rose the most, anytime you win the title for the first time, your stock rises. Add in the fact that you're incredible story, first Mexican champion. The winner of tonight is in my opinion, There's no close second. It's Brandon Moreno. New champion. He's the winner tonight. What is your 3 bulls?
Okay. I mean, I agree with all of yours, but my number 3 is going to be pulling guard. We got the guy that pulled guard, and it was a great idea. The guy that we're arguing should have pulled guard. We've been shitting on pulling guard here for 10 years. Pulling guard, it's making a comeback.
That's a good one.
Can nobody tell us different?
Pulling guard.
Number 2, Movsar Evloev. No, it wasn't the sexiest win. It was not even on the leaderboard for any performance bonuses. But in terms of something that for me just went, okay, this guy is even better than I thought he was. I'm ready to kind of certify him, prepared for some elite competition. This was an eye-opening performance. Like, he just looked sensational against Hakeem Dawodu.
And if Dawodu just pulled guard, he'd at least be in the same situation. So it almost seemed like it was part of his plan.
And I'm with you. Number 1, got to be Brandon Moreno. What a night that man has had. He jumps right to the leaderboard for Sherdog year-end awards for at least Breakthrough Fighter of the Year and possibly Fighter of the Year if he manages to defend the belt, become like a real live star. I mean, we're talking about a guy that his parents worked making piñatas. Like, that sounds like a joke.
Yeah.
It sounds like something from like a skit. Like,
from
Tijuana and his parents made piñatas. Like, no.
Shout out
his
to
parents flat out made piñatas.
Yeah, shout out to my buddies Craig Allen and Matt Allen. They spoke to him, and Matt actually asked him, like, how do you make a piñata? Or he asked him something like that. But yeah, honestly, if you didn't know the story and you said, oh yeah, his parents make piñata, you think it was like someone being like racist.
Mm-hmm, exactly. It sounds like a joke in poor taste, but nope. Yeah, for real.
No, it's actually
and he's at the top of the world.
It's like the first time. So my wife, if people don't know, was born and raised in Canada, and I never we were hanging out. This is when we were early dating. We were probably dating for 2 weeks or something, and I introduced somebody, and then someone asked, "Oh, so what do your parents do for work?" And I was like, "Oh, my mom's a Mountie and her dad's a lumberjack." Oh, no, and she's like, "Well, my mom's not a Mountie, but my dad really is a lumberjack." All right, let's do the Bears. I'll let you kick off. So these are obviously the ones who did not have a good night. I'll let you go first.
Number 3, it's got to be Chase Hooper. Like you said, he's 21 years old. I argued on the preview that he's just been brought along too early. Like, I don't know if 10 years from now he will be a 4-time defending UFC lightweight champ or featherweight champ, or he will have washed out of the sport completely. It is literally too early to know. All I know right now is that he's an underpowered, extremely one-dimensional fighter, but nonetheless, stardom was there for him if he could just beat UFC quality featherweights. He's proven not ready to do so yet, and that's a bad look. Number 2, checking leg kicks. How many fights on tonight did the losing fighter or the almost losing fighter just simply choose to ignore leg kicks the entire evening? Like, ignoring leg kicks should be right up there with pulling guard on the list of things that you can't do that tonight, in modern MMA. Like, Nate Diaz, Marvin Vettori just chose to be like, I'm going to take that damage. I don't care. Eric Anders ended up winning, but he had to pull it out right at the end against the guy that you and I both think should be cut from the UFC.
Yeah. Lauren Murphy.
At least part of it is. Yeah. Lauren Murphy. Lauren Murphy, won her fight, but, it was perhaps closer than it needed to be because she decided she didn't want to check any leg kicks. So it's a bad night for checking leg kicks. Number 1, gotta be Jamal Hill. When you lose your first fight, and it's something that makes like even the jaded be like, okay, that's enough, dude. That's bad. He'll be back. He'll get more fights in the UFC. I'm still high on him as a prospect, but yeah, bad night for him.
Yeah. My number 3 was also Jamal. When you get your arm dislocated, I know thankfully it didn't completely break, but yeah, that was a bad night for him. My number 2, I want to go with Bruce Buffer. Simply because, listen, I don't like to criticize people's jobs, but I feel like obviously you have to have talent. You have to have God-given, vocals, and obviously, he works on it. But, dude, you've been in the sport like 25 years at this point. You should know when it's a split draw to not read the guy who got the 2 decisions in favor of him first. So it's like the winner, judge this gave it for Zion, judge this gave it for Zion, this judge gave it a draw. Oh, it's a split draw. Like, no, man, come on, don't kill the suspense. Go. This judge scored it, a draw. However, he was overruled by these two judges, and he does the same thing. Like when you have a split decision, and like anytime you have a split decision, and one guy clearly wins one. Say for example, say it was Lauren Murphy versus Calderwood was a split decision. If I was reading the scorecards, I would never go judge whoever scored at 29-28 Calderwood, judge whoever scored at 29-28 Murphy, and the final judge whoever scored it 30-27, killing all the suspense because obviously Murphy won then because you throw the 30-27 one out first. Then you do the 29-28, so you still build the suspense of, and the last judge scored at 29-28, and was like, who's it for? And he does it all the time. I'm like, come on, dude. Stop killing the suspense. Anyways, not a good night for Bruce Buffer. But the number one, and I know casual fans and the audience made it seem like he won because he won 60 seconds of a 25-minute fight. But I'm going Nate Diaz. I mean, yeah, he's still a star. He still does huge pay-per-views. But the guy's won one fight in the last 5 years. And that one fight was against Anthony Pettis, who's losing in the PFL. He's not that good of a fighter anymore. So no. Nate Diaz stock to me is just absolutely flopped. It's way down. Let's get to the grade. What was your grade for the card?
C+. And that's only because the co-main was just kind of so electrifying and such a great moment. Other than that, we had one really good fight. I'm not one of those just bleed people that rates everything on finishes. I mean, most of the greatest fights of all time were decisions.
Absolutely.
But we equaled or broke the record for decisions in a single UFC card tonight, and just most of them weren't that great. Just a night of okay fights with a couple of really eye-opening things that happened towards the end.
Yeah, I went with a C. I feel the same way. I felt there was the high moments kept it from a D, but we had a lot of boring decisions, and like even the main event, while there was some fun moments, there wasn't like a spectacular moment. But I agree, the co-main event saved the card. Riddell, Dober carried the prelims. There was some other fun stuff. So yeah, I go with a C. It was okay.
Yeah.
So there you guys have it. We have recapped all of the fights, all 14 fights, did all the fun stuff. We apologize it was about 30 seconds or so where we had a brief technical. No, I don't think it was actually out for 30 seconds, but then I was trying to fix it and I screwed up the border for stuff and made us not look professional. But anyways, we apologize for that. We thank you guys. We know it's 3:30 a.m. in the East Coast. It is 2:30 where Ben is, 3:30 where I am. I know guys in Europe who were with us. It's like 8 in the morning. Anyways, we appreciate you guys for sticking around with us. Tell your friends about the show. Let's keep the chat going. We think all the guys who talked in the chat is really a lot of fun. Me and Ben will be back next week as we're doing another UFC. See you then.
Absolutely.